Well, welcome back to Living Local. So if you're raising a glass to National Bourbon Day this Saturday, or maybe hunting for the perfect gift for dear old dad this Sunday, you're in for a treat.
And joining us is Quad City News anchor by day and Bourbon Buff by night, Jim Niedelman. Most nights. But you're here to share some spirited suggestions straight from your personal collection. So when you're not delivering the evening news, man, you're throwing one back and collecting a fine bourbon.
I try, yes. It's a fun hobby I got into several years ago.
Well, you're a legend, so of course you have a legendary collection here.
Yeah. So what started all this?
A great friend of mine now named Kevin Ackerman, he got into it for my wedding gift. He gave me a bottle of Old Rip Van Winkle 10-year, which is in the Pappy Van Winkle family. Very rare bourbon, and I loved it. And he said, you can find more of these out there. And he's actually well known in the bourbon collecting community. Goes by the name Debonair Bourbonaire. In fact, he's actually featured in a chapter of this book, Dusty Booze.
Okay.
So he's
Dusty
become
Booze.
a very he didn't write it, but he's in a chapter. And he's very good at collecting not just rare bottles that get produced every year that you might hear about, but some really, really old vintage bourbons. And so he's made a name for himself there. So that's why they call it Dusty Booze, because there's really, really old bottles, 50, 60, 70, even 100 years old.
But that's what makes it good, right? The older the booze.
The rare, potentially, of course, and for certain names, certain distilleries that have a reputation back of being quite good producers back in the day.
I love that.
Okay.
I love that.
Yeah. So what's your collection look like? This is some of it,
Yeah,
right?
This is some of it. So I wanted to feature a couple things. First of all, in terms of the Dusty, this is my one and only real nice Dusty, this old granddad. It's from the 80s, so it's not even super old, but it's a nice vintage, and actually the product from that year is supposed to be very, very good. And I've tried it, not this bottle, but I have tried it. It is delicious. What I did want to feature today is a little bit of interesting things called store picks. Different businesses, whether they're grocery stores like Hy-Vee or Fairway, which I show, they go and they get a team and they go down to a distiller and they say, hey, we want to buy a barrel, and they go down and sample a few and they pick one, and that whole barrel will be theirs, and they sell it. For instance, Hy-Vee, this one, which is from Barrel Bourbon, and did a very nice selection where they're master blenders. They actually outsource their bourbon, but then they blend it and they come up with unique flavors. And this one was after it was aged in the regular American oak barrel. They blended it in and finished it in a wine barrel. So it has a very nice smell of Madeira, and you can actually taste the hint of it too when you drink it. The Old Forester is from Fairway. This is a high-proof single barrel, and Old Forester does this fairly common with different companies, but bars do it too, restaurants do a barrel. So I've got Elijah Craig there. That's another store pick, and there's a group called the Quad Cities Bourbon Enthusiasts that did this Maker's Mark bottle. So these are higher proof than let's say standard ones. What we're going to sample today is something from the Michter's Distillery. Before they're in Louisville now, but the old Michter's Distillery went defunct and it was revived by another company. But back in the day at the Michter's in Pennsylvania, its previous iterations was known as Baumburgers and Shanks. And so in a legacy series, they produce a Baumburgers and Shanks bottle every year to pay tribute to their history. So this is a Baumburgers Precision Fine Grain, PFG is the nickname. And so they did something very special here, kind of similar to what they did here when they switched barrels. They took and did the original toasted and charred American oak, which is what you're required to make it a bourbon. And then they transfer the finishing into a French oak barrel. And what's interesting about this is that it's actually, if you notice, it's a bit darker than some of the other bourbons. So that's something that's happened in the maturation process. It was a brainchild of the master maturation there at Michter's, Andrea Wilson, and the master distiller, Dan McKee. They've done a great job in creating different bourbons over the years. So and this is one, their barrel strength, which you can only get in Kentucky. This is not a store pick, but something you can only get in Kentucky. You can't find here.
And you've done a lot of those distillery tours and stuff, haven't you?
Done a few, yes.
Yeah. Is there one that really stands out to you that you've done in the last couple of years?
For me, I love the Old Forester tour. I love the Buffalo Trace tour. And Buffalo Trace is nice because they're free and they have a variety of tours because it's such a big operation. So you can you can sign up for different tours. And the Michter's Distillery tour, I really just enjoy those three particular. But I've done Four Roses, been there, a couple of others as well. And off the top of my head, they're just really, really fun.
And what is it about bourbon that really piques your interest, though, because it's clearly a hobby.
Yeah, it's an American thing. Some of it, there's some high value stuff in there just to try it. When you get into it, it becomes just sort of this habit. You get addicted to just the chase. There's a game to it to find out what's really good. You read some blogs, which ones are collectible, which ones are coming out that are new and a different idea. And so this one came into my hands, and I've just loved it. I've opened it a little while ago, and we're just getting into it a little bit more. It's like, I wish I had more of these because I know once I've opened it, it's going to go pretty
Is
quick.
this one of your rarest finds then? Is this one-
Not one of my rarest finds, but it was new this year, so I don't know how many more they're going to make of this.
Okay.
It's like it was just released this year, so I don't think they made very many bottles of this.
Yeah.
It did not make it into this area to many stores. I was lucky to get my hands on it.
Is that something that you kind of go in and be like when it first releases to get one because
Are you waiting
just
in line at Hy-Vee?
I'm not waiting in line, but you try
Waiting for it
to
to come
find out.
out?
You don't even know if they're going to get it in other
Yeah.
stores. It just depends. You just got to kind of get a little lead on something and you chase it.
Yeah, so you're chasing those leads in the news
Some
and
of
in the
my
bourbon world
some of
too.
my spare time, yes.
I love that. I love that.
All right, and so this is, you have several rare finds though, right?
I have
your
some other
collection.
ones,
Okay,
yes.
some other ones at
yes.
home. All right.
He's not allowed to talk about them though because if somebody goes to his house, they'll know. You know what I mean?
They're not that rare.
Well,
They're not going to find anything super, super crazy. These are some interesting ones that I've had over the years.
What do you
Yeah.
want folks to know about bourbon? You know, what should they be kind of sniffing out?
Well, for me,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just, sniffing is a good thing because when you hold up a glass, you should get the nose.
Right.
And,
yeah.
you know, a lot of them have caramel notes. You might notice something floral in there, but they all vary. One thing I'll tell about bourbons, you can get a bottle for as cheap as $20, even less, and then maybe hundreds and hundreds, even thousands of dollars for a new bottle that's even currently produced. Kind of like wine. It's not what you pay; it's what you like. So everyone has a different taste.
okay.
So
It's
find what's
experience,
nice
man.
and
It's
just
experience.
And so I've had the most expensive bottles I've tried in the past, and I've tried some of the ones that aren't so expensive, and
Yeah.
I find that some of the ones that aren't so expensive are just as good.
well, we're not all legends like you, so we can't be trying
Stop,
to
stop,
highbrow
stop.
stuff.
But I mean, some of the highbrow stuff is really quite exquisite, and this is
I
one of
bet.
those that's quite exquisite.
So this is one you recommend. This is
If you can find it, yes.
Okay.
okay.
So can we give it a try?
Sure. And just float it in your mouth a little bit, just whisk it around your tongue, feel the mouth feel. It has a different, and has a nice little burn when you swallow.
Yeah, that's
that's
got a
bourbon.
nice
It's
burn.
burning on my tongue.
But it's not a bad burn. It's a good burn.
I mean, I guess I probably should have had something to eat, but it's burning.
That's
through my
usually a
stomach.
good idea
Yeah, that's
when you're
a
having
pro
some
tip.
alcohol.
That is
Tip
a
number
pro tip.
one.
That's
But it has different layers to its flavor too. You can kind of taste a different wood in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
A little bit of smokiness in there. I do have the caramel notes.
yeah.
It's quite good.
It is
a very
good.
good
It
one.
is good.
Yeah.
It's a very
And a
good
nice
one.
aftertaste too. You
Yes,
know.
it does go down smoothly.
Yeah.
So for something that is dark, some people might be put off by the color, and they should not be.
No, it's quite good. I like it.
So do a lot of people they get a little confused with what the difference is between bourbon and whiskey?
They might, because basically all bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon. That's
right.
the
That
rule.
is the confusing part. Though.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so bourbon is a uniquely American product by actually an act of Congress. So first of all, bourbon is not bourbon unless it's made in the United States of America. It has to have a mash bill, basically the recipe of the different grains that are used. The mash bill has to be at least 51% corn. And then you have like some rye in there, you might have some wheat and all the different things they can mix up.
Gotcha.
It has to be barreled in a new American oak barrel.
Okay.
And there can be nothing else added to it except maybe water at the end or something.
Have you tried to make any? No. Well, because I
No,
know,
no
like,
haven't had
bathtub
that.
gin in my house.
I have buddies that like try to pull it off, and it's never great. But I didn't know you're.
I don't know.
But some of the smaller operations are doing quite well. You know, we
Yeah.
certainly have Cody Road here, the Mississippi River
Yeah,
Distilling
Cedar Ridge
Company.
is
Yeah.
great, yeah.
Cedar Ridge, Old Elk, they're all very regional, and so
Yeah.
they've come up over the years. And so the bourbon market has certainly been growing over the last couple of decades.
Well, if somebody's on the fence about trying a bourbon, give us your elevator pitch, man. Why should they give it a try?
I mean, if you have never done it before, it's something new.
Yeah.
It's good to talk to somebody at a bar who might know what he or she is talking about when it comes to bourbon at the bar or something like that, or even at your local grocery store, liquor store managers, they know something about it. Some of them know more than others, and you can kind of get a feel for them rather than just throwing something at you.
Yeah.
Hy-Vee and Fairway both do a great job locally in terms of doing their store picks, but also having an idea of the rating system, and they put them usually
Yeah.
on when they price them, like what their different ratings are in terms of the
Yeah.
different rating companies that do it.
Well, I hope you write a book. From,
Not
from
for me.
Hollywood.
No,
to,
no.
I'm telling you, next time I think you'll be making it, and then we can have you back on.
I'm just saying.
No, I like other people's products much more than I think I could ever do.
Okay.
I'm still a news guy at heart.
I know you are. I know
We
you
all have to have a
are.
hobby, and
Yeah,
this is
this is a
yours.
good
so
one.
I love
this
it.
is a good one. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, quite the hobby you do
Yeah,
have,
and
Jim.
thanks for
Thanks
joining,
for joining us, and thanks for the
giving us a
drink.
beverage.
Yes.
A little
Very nice.
Little burn.
That's right. This is a little burn.
All right. Well, if you have a burning bourbon question or maybe a story you'd like Jim to cover, give him a line. Check him out there, J. Niedelman at WHBF.com.
That's right, and we'll have all those details posted at ourquadcities.com. More Living Local continues after the break. Stay with us.